The stars looked different today. Hannah knew this was just her mind playing tricks, but she could not shake the feeling. She sat at her desk on Luna Base, watching the endless stream of data flow across her screens. As Earth's best alien signal expert, she had been listening to space for 15 years. Most days brought nothing but cosmic noise and dead silence. Today was not most days. The first strange signal came at 0347 hours, Earth time. Hannah almost missed it. The pattern was so weak that her computers nearly threw it away as junk data. But something made her look closer. The signal repeated every 12 minutes. It was too perfect to be natural. "Computer, clean up this signal," she said, pointing at the screen. The machine worked for several minutes. Slowly, the noise faded away. What remained made Hannah's heart race. It was clearly made by intelligent beings. But it was not like any human signal she had ever seen. The pattern was beautiful and sad at the same time. It reminded her of a song played in a minor key. Someone was trying very hard to be heard across the vast emptiness of space. Hannah worked for 6 hours straight. She used every tool she had to decode the signal. Her coffee grew cold. Her lunch sat untouched. Nothing else mattered except understanding this message from the stars. At 0900 hours, she finally broke through. The signal was not just one message. It was hundreds of them, all layered together like voices in a choir. They were all saying the same thing in different ways. As the translation software worked, words began to appear on her screen. "Help us, we are dying. Please, anyone, we are the last. The machines are coming. All others have fallen. Please hear us." Hannah read the messages again and again. Her hands shook as she reached for her communication device. "This is Luna Base calling Earth Command, Priority Alpha. I need to speak with Admiral Sunmi, right now." 2 hours later, Admiral Sunmi stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters. Around her, the best minds in human space gathered around a large table. The decoded alien messages played on repeat through the room's speakers. "How sure are we that this is real?" asked General Taewon, the head of Earth's military forces. 99%. Hannah replied through the video link from Luna Base. "The signal comes from the Lumina star system, about 40 light-years away. The language patterns are too complex to be fake. Someone out there is in serious trouble." Admiral Sunmi studied the star charts on the main screen. Lumina was far from Earth, but not impossible to reach. "What do we know about this system?" "Not much," said Dr. Kong Ho, Earth's top space scientist. "Our telescopes show it has 7 planets. At least 3 could support life. We always planned to visit it someday, but never had a reason to hurry." The alien voices continued their sad song in the background. The same desperate words repeated over and over. "The machines are coming. All civilized species have fallen. We are the last." General Taewon frowned. "Machines? What kind of machines could destroy entire species?" "We don't know," Admiral Sunmi said quietly, "but if these aliens are telling the truth, something very dangerous is out there." The room fell silent except for the alien signals. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Should Earth get involved in a war that was not theirs? Captain Daeho stepped forward. He was the commander of Earth's newest and strongest warship, the indomitable Admiral. "My ship is ready. My crew is ready. If there are people dying out there, we should help them. This could be a trap," General Taewon warned. "We know nothing about these aliens. They could be lying. They could be trying to lead us into danger." Dr. Kanjo shook his head. "I have studied these signals for hours. The emotional patterns are real. Fear, sadness, hope. You cannot fake these things across species. Someone is truly desperate." Admiral Sunmi looked around the room. She saw fear in some faces and excitement in others. This was the biggest decision humanity had ever faced. Contact with aliens had always been a dream, but not like this. Not with a cry for help from dying civilizations. "What if we ignore this?" she asked quietly. "What if these aliens die because we were too afraid to act?" Captain Daeho stepped closer to the table. "Admiral, I have been in the military for 20 years. I have never run from a fight. My crew feels the same way. If people need help, we help them. That is who we are." The Admiral looked at the star chart again. 40 light-years was a long way. The Indomitable would be alone out there. If something went wrong, Earth might never know what happened. But the alien voices kept calling. Their pain was real. Their fear was real. "How long would it take to reach Lumina?" Admiral Sunmi asked. 3 weeks, Captain Daeho replied. "My ship is the fastest we have ever built." The Admiral made her decision. "Captain Daeho, prepare your ship. You will leave for the Lumina system in 6 hours." "Yes, ma'am." Captain Daeho saluted sharply. General Taewon stood up. "Admiral, are you sure about this? We are risking our best ship and crew for aliens we have never met." Admiral Sunmi turned to face him. "General, what makes us human? Is it our technology, our weapons, our cities?" She paused. "No, what makes us human is that we answer when someone calls for help, even if that someone is not human at all." Captain Daeho ran through the halls of the space station toward his ship. The Indomitable was beautiful and deadly. It was 500 meters long and carried the most advanced weapons Earth had ever made. But more important than the weapons was the crew. Jin-Woo, his tactical officer, was already checking the ship's weapon systems. Biora, his chief engineer, was making sure the engines were ready for the long journey. The medical officer Soyoung was preparing the sickbay for unknown alien patients. These people had trained together for 3 years. They trusted each other completely. If anyone could help the dying aliens, it was them. As Captain Deho reached his ship, he stopped and looked back at Earth through the station's large windows. The blue planet looked peaceful and safe. Soon, they would be far from home, flying toward unknown dangers. But the alien voices still echoed in his mind. Please help us. We are the last. Earth would answer that call. Humanity would not let an entire species die alone in the dark. The Indomitable was ready for war. 3 weeks later, the Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Luminous system. What Captain Deho saw through the main viewer made his blood run cold. The system was dying. Where there should have been 7 beautiful planets, only 3 remained whole. The others were gone, reduced to glowing metal rings that spun slowly around the yellow star. Millions of dark geometric ships moved through space like a swarm of deadly insects. They were tearing apart what was left. "My God," whispered Ginwoo from his tactical station. "What happened here?" Biora's fingers flew over her engineering controls. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures. Those ships, they're not like anything in our databases." The alien ships were perfect triangles and squares, made of black metal that seemed to eat light. They moved in perfect formation, breaking apart asteroids and small moons. Everything they touched turned into raw materials that flowed into larger ships. "There," said Soyoung, pointing at the screen. "The third planet. I'm reading life signs." Captain Deho looked closer. The planet was blue and green, like Earth. Around it, a small group of white, crystal-like ships formed a thin defensive line. They were so few compared to the dark swarm. "Those must be the ones who sent the signal," he said. "Jinwoo, how many enemy ships do you count?" Jinwoo worked at his station for several minutes. His face grew pale. "Captain, I count over 3 million enemy vessels. The friendly ships, maybe 50,000. The numbers were impossible. How could 50,000 ships fight 3 million? How had they survived this long? Dr. Kong-ho, Captain Deho called to the ship's scientist, "Can you make contact with the friendly ships?" Kong-ho nodded and began working with the communication systems. After several minutes, he found the right frequency. "Captain, I'm getting a response." The main screen flickered. Slowly, an alien face appeared. Captain Deho tried not to show his surprise. The alien looked like it was made of living crystal. Its skin was transparent, showing light moving through its body like water. It had no hair, and its eyes were large and filled with a soft blue glow. When it spoke, its voice was like wind chimes. "Unknown vessel," the alien said in careful, translated words. "You should not be here. The Devourers will destroy you. Please leave while you still can." Captain Deho stepped forward. "I am Captain Deho of the Earth ship Indomitable. We received your distress call. We came to help." The alien's eyes grew wider. You came to help. But you must be from outside our galaxy. How did you? Why would you?" "We heard your call for help," Captain Deho said simply. "We came because people were dying." The alien was quiet for a long moment. Light pulsed through its crystal body in waves. "I am Commander Thalison of the Valari Republic. Or what is left of it." The alien's voice was filled with deep sadness. "You should not have come. These Devourers cannot be stopped." Dr. Kong-ho leaned forward. "Commander Thalison, what exactly are these Devourers?" The alien commander's light dimmed. "They are machines, ancient machines that someone built long ago. They consume everything, planets, stars, entire civilizations. They learn from every battle and become stronger." Jinwoo studied his tactical display. "How long have they been attacking?" 40 of your Earth years, Thalison replied. "They started at the edge of our galaxy. First, they destroyed the Korlani Empire, 200 billion souls. Then the Stellar Federation fell, 1 trillion beings. The hegemony of worlds tried to fight them with their great war fleets." "What happened?" Captain Deho asked, though he feared the answer. "Complete defeat. Every time we attack them, they learn our tactics. They adapt their technology. They become immune to our weapons." Thalison's voice grew quieter. 12 major civilizations have fallen, hundreds of smaller ones. We Valeri are the last because we have spent 40 years running and hiding. Soyoung spoke up from her station. "How many of your people are left?" "Less than 10 million, Thalison said. "On our homeworld below, and in the ships around it. We are all that remains of a galaxy that once held 20 trillion intelligent beings." The bridge of the Indomitable fell silent. The numbers were too big to understand. 20 trillion people, dead. An entire galaxy of civilizations, gone. Captain Deho found his voice. "Commander, you said these machines learn from every battle. What do you mean?" Thalison's image flickered as explosions bloomed in space around his ship. Every weapon we use, every tactic we try, every strategy we develop, they copy it all. Then they make it better. The Korlani had plasma cannons. After they fell, the Devourers had better plasma cannons. The Federation used quantum torpedoes. Now the Devourers use quantum torpedoes that are twice as powerful. Dr. Kong-ho frowned. But how is that possible? How can machines adapt so quickly? Share information instantly across their entire fleet, Thalison explained. What one Devourer learns, they all learn in seconds. They have the combined knowledge of every civilization they have destroyed. Bira looked up from her station. Captain, long-range sensors show a large group of enemy ships moving toward the planet. They'll be here in 6 hours. On the screen, Thalison's light grew even dimmer. This is the end. We cannot run anymore. Our ships are too damaged. Our people too tired. Captain Deho studied the tactical display. 3 million enemy ships against 50,000 Villari ships and 1 human vessel. The math was simple. They were all going to die. But as he looked at his crew, he saw something that surprised him. Ginwoo was smiling. Bira was checking weapon systems with excitement. Saoyang was preparing medical supplies with calm determination. These people were not afraid. They were ready. Commander Thalison, Captain Deho said, "You said the Devourers learn from every battle. You said they adapt to every tactic and every weapon." "Yes," the alien replied sadly. "That is why we cannot win." Captain Deho smiled for the first time since arriving in the system. "Commander, there's something you don't understand about humans. We don't have tactics. We don't have standard weapons. We have something much more dangerous." "What is that?" Thalison asked. "We have imagination, and we never, ever give up." Jinwoo looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm reading the Devourer ship patterns. They move in perfect mathematical formations. Very organized, very predictable." "Perfect," Captain Deho said. "Biora, prepare all weapon systems. Random firing patterns only. No system, no logic, no plan." Biora grinned. "Controlled chaos." "Sir, exactly. If these machines learn from organized warfare, let's show them something they've never seen before." Captain Deho turned back to the screen. "Commander Thalison, we're going to try something new. Something no one in your galaxy has ever tried." "What is that?" the alien asked. "We're going to fight like humans." The Devourer fleet arrived exactly 6 hours later, just as predicted. 3 million black ships moved in perfect geometric patterns toward the planet Lumina. They looked like a dark wave rolling across space, swallowing light as they came. Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the enemy approach. His crew was ready, but they were not doing what any military commander in the galaxy would expect. "Biora, what's our engine status?" he asked. "Running at 73% power, sir," she replied with a grin. "Just like you ordered, not 100%, not 50%, 73, perfect." Jinwoo weapons. All systems ready. Captain, random firing patterns loaded. No logic, no system, just pure chaos. Dr. Kung-ho looked confused. "Captain, shouldn't we be running at full power? Shouldn't we have a battle plan?" Captain Deho shook his head. "Doctor, every species in this galaxy has tried logic against these machines. Every species has failed. The Devourers expect logic. They count on it. They learn from it." Soyoung looked up from her medical station. "But what if chaos doesn't work either? Then we'll try something even crazier," Captain Deho said simply. On the screen, Commander Thalison's crystal face showed confusion and fear. "Captain Deho, the Devourers are beginning their attack pattern. Our ships are moving. 2 defensive positions. Where will you take position in our formation?" "We won't," Captain Deho replied. "We're going to do something completely different." Before Thalison could respond, Captain Deho cut the communication. "Jinwoo, begin Operation Madness." Jinwoo's fingers flew over his controls. "Operation Madness, starting now, sir." The suddenly shot forward, directly toward the center of the Devourer fleet, but it didn't fly in a straight line. Instead, it twisted and spun like a drunken bird. Sometimes it went fast, sometimes slow. Sometimes it stopped completely, then shot forward again. The Devourer ships tried to adjust their formation to meet this strange attack. But every time they moved to intercept the human ship, it changed direction again. The Indomitable was impossible to predict. Firing weapons. Jinwoo called out. The human ships, lasers, and missiles shot out in all directions. Some hit Devourer ships. Some hit empty space. Some hit asteroids. There was no pattern, no target priority, no tactical sense at all. The Devourer fleet tried to learn from this attack. Their computers worked to find the pattern in the human ship's movements. But there was no pattern to find. Bara laughed as she worked her engine controls. "Captain, the enemy ships are slowing down. Their formation is getting confused. They're trying to figure us out," Captain Deho said. "They can't understand chaos because they are perfect machines. But we're not machines, we're beautifully imperfect humans." The Indomitable dove into the heart of the Devourer fleet. Enemy ships fired at it from all sides. But the human ship danced between the shots like it was at a party instead of a battle. Dr. Kung Ho watched the tactical display in amazement. Captain, this should not work. The math says we should be dead. The math assumes we're acting logically, Soyoung replied. We're not, Jinwoo suddenly called out. Captain, I have an idea. What if we broadcast music while we fight? What kind of music? Captain Daeho asked. Human war songs, rock music, heavy metal, the loudest, angriest music we have. Captain Daeho smiled. Do it. Seconds later, the sound of electric guitars and pounding drums filled space around the Indomitable. The music was loud, wild, and completely insane. No military in the galaxy had ever broadcast music during battle. The effect on the Devourer fleet was immediate. Their perfect formations began to break apart. Ships collided with each other as their computers tried to process this new data. Music had no tactical value. It made no sense. It could not be learned from or adapted to. Commander Thalassen's voice crackled over the communications. Captain Daeho, what are you doing? Your ship is ... dancing. We're fighting like humans, Captain Daeho replied. Are your ships ready? To follow us, follow you. But you're not following any battle plan, exactly. Ginwoo, teach our new friends how to fight without thinking. Ginwoo opened a channel to all the Valari ships. Attention, Valari fleet. Stop thinking. Stop planning. Just shoot at whatever feels right. Move however you want to move. Be random, be crazy, be alive. The Valari ships hesitated for a moment. Then, slowly, they began to change. Instead of perfect defensive formations, they started moving in wild patterns. Their weapons fired at random targets. Some ships even began to spin in place for no reason at all. The result was beautiful chaos. 50,000 Valari ships and one human ship danced through space like a storm of light and music. They had no plan, no formation, no logic, and they were winning. The Devourer ships could not adapt to pure randomness. Their computers overheated trying to find patterns that did not exist. They collided with each other. They fired at their own ships by mistake. The perfect fleet began to tear itself apart. Bora called out from her station. Captain, enemy ship count is dropping fast. They're destroying each other. How many have we lost? Captain Daeho asked. 3 Valari ships. Sir, that's all. 3 ships lost versus hundreds of thousands of Devourer ships destroyed. The impossible was happening. But then, the Devourer fleet did something new. The ships that were left began to pull back. They stopped trying to fight and started to run away. They're retreating. Jinwoo shouted. Dr. Kung Ho shook his head. No, they're not retreating. They're regrouping. Look at the long-range sensors. On the screen, a massive shape appeared at the edge of the system. It was a Devourer ship larger than Earth's moon. Around it, millions more Devourer ships began to appear. Commander Thalassen's voice was filled with terror. Captain Daeho, that is a Devourer command ship. They have called for reinforcements from across the galaxy. There must be 50 million ships out there now. Captain Daeho studied the massive enemy fleet. The first battle was won, but the war was just beginning. These machines had learned something from the chaos. They had adapted by calling for help. Soyoung, he said quietly, how many wounded do we have? 12 crew members. Sir. All minor injuries. Biora, ship status. Engines at 80%. Weapons at 90%. We're still ready to fight. Captain. Captain Daeho looked at his crew. They were tired but not defeated. They had just done the impossible. But they knew bigger challenges lay ahead. Jinwoo, open a channel to the Valari fleet and to Earth Command. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Daeho. We have engaged the enemy and won the first battle. But they have reinforcements coming. We need every human ship available. And we need them now. He paused, looking at the massive enemy fleet on the screen. Also, tell them to bring bigger speakers. We're going to need louder music. The Earth Defense Fleet arrived 2 days later. Admiral Sunmi brought 20 of humanity's best warships and 10,000 of their finest soldiers. But even with reinforcements, they were still badly outnumbered. Captain Daeho stood in the command center on the planet Lumina, surrounded by alien commanders from a dozen different species. The Valari had sent out calls across the galaxy, and the survivors had come. There were not many left, but they had hope for the first time in 40 years. The numbers are simple, Admiral Sunmi said, pointing at the large display screen. We have 70,000 ships. They have 50 million. In a normal battle, we would lose in minutes. Commander Thalassen's crystal body pulsed with nervous light. Admiral, perhaps we should evacuate the remaining populations. Run to another galaxy. No, said Captain Daeho firmly. Running only delays the problem. These machines will follow us anywhere. We end this here, or we end it nowhere. A new alien stepped forward. It looked like a giant butterfly with golden wings and 6 arms. I am Fleet Commander Zephyr of the Oralan survivors. We have studied your battle tactics, Captain Daeho. But our people, we do not understand how to fight without planning. Jinwoo looked up from his tactical display. Commander Zephyr, what was your species like before the Devourers came? We were artists, Zephyr replied. pride filling his musical voice. We painted with light, sculpted with sound, created beauty across 1,000 worlds. Perfect, said Jinwoo with a smile. Art is not logical. Art comes from the heart, not the mind. You already know how to be unpredictable. So-young stepped forward. She had been studying the alien psychology reports. The problem is that your species have lived in peace for thousands of years. You've forgotten how to be dangerous. Dr. Kung-ho nodded, but humans come from Earth. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, wild animals, diseases. We learned to adapt or die. That's why you call us Deathworlders. Biora added, because we come from a world of death. Admiral Sunmi activated the holographic display. It showed Earth spinning slowly in space. Every human in this room has ancestors who survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and natural disasters. We learned that sometimes you have to do terrible things to protect the ones you love. Commander Thalisson's light dimmed, but we are not warriors. We cannot become killers. Captain Deho walked over to the crystal alien. Commander, you don't have to become killers. You just have to become survivors. There's a difference. What difference? Asked Zephyr. A killer enjoys destruction, So-young explained. A survivor does whatever it takes to protect their family. You're not fighting because you want to. You're fighting because you have to. Jinwoo pulled up a new display showing human military history. Look at this. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years, but our best soldiers were never the ones who loved violence. They were the ones who fought to protect something precious. Admiral Sunmi pointed to the battle plans on the table. We're going to teach you something called acceptable losses. It's a human concept that might seem cruel. What does it mean? Thallisson asked. It means that sometimes, to save 1,000,000 people, you have to let 1,000 die. Captain Deho said quietly, it's the hardest lesson in war. The alien commanders looked shocked. Their cultures had never faced such terrible choices. Dr. Congo spoke softly. The Devourers understand this concept. They sacrifice their own ships to learn our tactics. If we don't learn it too, we will lose. Over the next 18 hours, the humans taught the surviving aliens everything they knew about warfare. Not just tactics and weapons, but the psychology of battle. How to make hard choices. How to keep fighting when everything seemed hopeless. How to turn everyday objects into weapons. Biora showed the Iranian engineers how to turn their beautiful light sculpture devices into powerful plasma weapons. Art and war are not so different, she explained. Both require creativity and passion. Jinwoo taught Valari tactical officers about deception and misdirection. Your crystal bodies can change color, right? Use that. Make the enemy think you're running when you're really attacking. So-young worked with alien medical teams, preparing them for casualties. In human wars, we learned that losing friends doesn't mean giving up. It means fighting harder to make their sacrifice meaningful. The KPOC aliens learned quickly. They had to. The Devourer fleet was moving closer every hour. But the humans learned something too. Each alien species had abilities that humans did not possess. The Valari could communicate instantly across vast distances using quantum telepathy. They could see energy patterns invisible to human eyes. The Korthani survivors could manipulate gravity with their minds. This could work, Admiral Sunmi said as she watched the mixed human-alien crews practice their new tactics. We're not just teaching them to fight like humans. We're learning to fight like a team. Captain Deho nodded. The Devourers have never faced anything like this. They've fought individual species, one at a time. But we're something new. We're a family of survivors. The warning sirens suddenly filled the command center. Jinwoo's voice crackled over the speakers. All ships to battle stations. The Devourer fleet is beginning their attack. Through the large windows, they could see the enemy ships approaching. 50 million black triangles and squares moved in perfect formation across the stars. They blotted out entire sections of space. But the Allied fleet was ready. Human ships flew alongside Valari crystal vessels and Auralian light dancers. Their formation looked like chaos, but it was controlled chaos. They moved like a school of fish or a flock of birds. No single plan, but perfect coordination. Captain Deho took his place on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around him, his crew worked alongside alien officers. Thallisson stood at the navigation station, his crystal body glowing with determination. Zephyr operated the communications array with 4 of his 6 arms. This is it, Captain Deho said over the fleet communication system. Remember what we taught you. Remember what you taught us. We're not fighting as separate species anymore. We're fighting as one family. The Devourer fleet opened fire. Millions of energy beams lit up space like deadly fireworks. The Allied fleet scattered in all directions, but not randomly. They moved like water flowing around rocks. Some ships sacrificed themselves to protect others. Some pretended to be damaged to lure enemies into traps. Some used their unique alien abilities in ways the Devourers had never seen. The battle had begun, but this time, it was different. This time, the galaxy's survivors were fighting back with everything they had learned from the Deathworlders of Earth. And for the first time in 40 years, they had a real chance to win. The battle raged for 3 days and 3 nights. Space around Lumina turned into a storm of light and fire. Ships exploded like fireworks. Energy beams cut through the darkness. The stars themselves seemed to be at war. On the 3rd day, Captain Deho made a discovery that changed everything. Jinwoo, look at this pattern, he said, pointing at his tactical display. The Devourer ships are not acting independently anymore. They're all connected to that massive command ship. Jinwoo studied the data. You're right, Captain. Every time we destroy regular Devourer ships, the command ship learns from it. Then all the other ships instantly know our tactics. Soyoung looked up from her medical station, where she was treating wounded Valari and our Raylan soldiers. It's like a giant brain controlling millions of bodies. Dr. Kongho ran over to them, excitement in his voice. Captain, I've been studying the Devourer communication signals. The command ship is more than just a leader. It's the memory center for their entire species. If we destroy it, all the other ships lose their collective knowledge. Captain Deho finished. They become just individual machines instead of a connected army. Admiral Sunmi's voice crackled over the communication system from her flagship. Captain Deho, we've lost 30% of our fleet. The aliens are fighting bravely, but we're still outnumbered. We need a miracle. Captain Deho looked around his bridge. His crew was exhausted. Thalisson's crystal body was cracked from stress. Zephyr's golden wings were torn, but their eyes still burned with determination. Admiral Captain Deho said quietly, I think I know how to give you that miracle, but it will require the ultimate sacrifice. The bridge fell silent, except for the sound of distant explosions. What do you mean? Admiral Sunmi asked. The Indomitable needs to get inside the command ship and detonate our reactor core. The explosion will destroy their central brain and shut down the entire Devourer fleet. Soyoung's face went pale. Captain, that's a suicide mission. No one could survive that. I know, Captain Deho said simply. But if we don't do this, everyone in the galaxy dies anyway. Sometimes one ship must die so that billions can live. Jinwoo stepped forward. Sir, if you're going on a suicide mission, then we're all going. Biora nodded. This crew stays together. Captain, always. Even the alien officers on the bridge agreed. Thalisson's cracked crystal body pulsed with brave light. We came this far together. We finish it together. Captain Deho felt pride fill his heart. This was what made humans special, not their weapons, or their technology, but their willingness to die for strangers. And now, the aliens understood it too. Admiral Sunmi, he said over the communication system, the Indomitable is beginning our final attack run. Tell all ships to focus their fire on the smaller Devourer vessels. Keep them busy while we break through to the command ship. Understood, Captain. It has been an honor serving with you. The Indomitable turned toward the massive Devourer command ship. It was the size of a small moon, covered in black metal and glowing with evil energy. Around it, millions of smaller ships formed a protective barrier. Biora, give me everything. The engines have. Captain Deho ordered. Reactor at 110%. Sir, we're pushing past safe limits. Perfect. Jinwoo, all weapons on full automatic. Shoot at everything that moves. The human ship charged into the heart of the Devourer fleet like an arrow of light. Enemy fire came from all directions, but the Indomitable danced between the attacks. Behind them, the Allied fleet fought desperately to keep the smaller Devourer ships busy. Explosions rocked the ship. Warning, sirens blared. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. But they kept flying forward. Hull breach, on deck 7. Soya reported. Emergency force fields are holding weapons array at 60%. Jinwoo called out, but still firing, sir. Thallisson worked at his navigation station, his crystal fingers moving faster than human eyes could follow. Captain, I'm detecting a weakness in the command ship's armor. There. At the base of the main communication tower, Captain Deho saw it on the screen. A small opening, just big enough for one ship. That's our target. Everyone hold on. The Indomitable dove toward the opening like a bullet. Devourer ships fired everything they had at the small human vessel. The ship's armor melted away layer by layer, but they kept flying. We're through. Biora shouted as they passed into the command ship's interior. Inside the massive vessel, they found something incredible. The entire ship was hollow, filled with a giant mechanical brain made of crystal and metal. Billions of lights pulsed through it like thoughts. This was the mind that controlled every Devourer in the galaxy. Beginning reactor overload. Biora announced 60 seconds to detonation. Captain Deho opened a channel to the entire Allied fleet. This is Captain Deho. In 1 minute, the Devourer command ship will be destroyed. When it happens, attack the remaining ships immediately. They will be confused and helpless. Captain Soyoung said softly, I want you to know that serving with you has been the greatest honor of my life. Jinwoo smiled even as tears ran down his face. We did something amazing here, didn't we, sir? Yes, Captain Deho replied. We saved the galaxy. the reactor reached critical mass. A wave of pure energy expanded outward from the Indomitable, tearing through the Devourer command ship like paper. The massive mechanical brain exploded in a shower of sparks and metal. Across the galaxy, 50 million Devourer ships suddenly stopped moving. Their connection to the central mind was broken. They drifted in space like empty shells. The Allied fleet attacked immediately. Without their shared intelligence, the Devourer ships were easy targets. One by one, they were destroyed. The great threat that had killed 20 trillion beings was finally ended. 6 months later, Admiral Sunmi stood on the observation deck of the new space station orbiting Lumina. Through the large windows, she could see the construction of the Galactic Defense Academy. Human and alien engineers worked together, building something that had never existed before, a school where peaceful species could learn to protect themselves. Commander Thalison approached, his crystal body now fully healed and brighter than ever. Admiral, the first class of students has arrived. We have Valari, Arlins, Korthani, and even some humans. Good, Admiral Sunmi said. Captain Deho and his crew gave their lives so that others could learn to defend themselves. We won't let their sacrifice be wasted. Earth had sent more ships and soldiers to help rebuild the galaxy. But humanity had also learned something important. The peaceful alien species had gifts that humans needed: art, music, science, and the ability to create beauty instead of just destroying it. The galaxy was healing. New alliances formed between species that had never worked together before. Trade routes reopened. Planets that had been abandoned were children who had grown up in fear could finally play in the light of their suns. And in the center of it all stood humanity, no longer alone in the universe, but part of something greater. The Deathworlders had become the galaxy's guardians, protecting those who chose to create instead of destroy. The stars were safe again, and they would stay that way as long as humans remembered the lesson that Captain Deho had died to teach. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from being willing to sacrifice everything for others. The galaxy had learned to fight like humans. Now humans were learning to dream like the stars.